Imagine this. You're working the night shift at a busy international airport. The world is asleep, and you're just another janitor cleaning floors. You push your cart past security checkpoints, empty trash bins, mop endless hallways. But then you stumble upon something that should never have been there. A bag, heavy, stuffed with bricks of crisp, bundled cash. $4 million. Not just any money. Cartel money. Money that belongs to some of the most dangerous and ruthless criminals on earth. In that single moment, you're faced with a choice. Do you report it and risk being silenced? Walk away and pretend you never saw it? Or do you take it, knowing full well that once you do, you're not just stealing money, you're stealing from killers? This is the story of the janitor who made the choice most of us wouldn't dare make. The man who slipped away with $4 million in cartel cash and vanished without a trace. Did he outsmart both the cartel and law enforcement? Or did he meet a darker fate? Tonight, we dive deep into one of the most mysterious disappearances in true crime history. He wasn't a criminal mastermind. He wasn't a career thief. He wasn't even the kind of person who stood out in a crowd. By all accounts, he was invisible. A middle-aged man, quiet, hardworking, and often overlooked. He cleaned floors, polished windows, and kept terminals spotless while thousands of travelers rushed past him without ever noticing his face. But behind that anonymity, there were cracks. His life was not as simple as it appeared. He lived paycheck to paycheck, rent overdue, bills piling up, family obligations he could barely meet. To most, he was just another worker struggling to survive in a system stacked against him. Some say he had gambling debts. Others whisper about an illness in the family, medical bills he couldn't afford. A man quietly drowning under the weight of financial ruin. And that's what makes this story so haunting. Because when opportunity struck, when fate dropped temptation at his feet, he didn't just see money. He saw freedom, a way out of a life of struggle. But what he didn't see, or maybe what he ignored, was the cost. Because this wasn't forgotten money. It wasn't a random jackpot. This was cartel cash, blood money. And the people it belonged to were not the type to forgive and forget. It was a humid Miami night at Miami International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the United States, and one of the most important hubs for international smuggling. The janitor was assigned to clean in areas few passengers ever saw. Storage rooms, service tunnels, and maintenance corridors. Those forgotten spaces behind the shine of the terminals. And it was there that he found it. A bag. Black. Heavy. Left in a restricted area where baggage handlers and customs agents usually pass through. At first, he thought it was lost luggage. Maybe forgotten cargo. But curiosity got the better of him. He unzipped the bag, and what he saw nearly made his knees buckle. Stacks upon stacks of U.S. $100 bills, bound tight with rubber bands. Bricks of money stacked so high they barely fit inside the duffel. He didn't need to count to know what he was looking at. This was millions. What he didn't know, at least not at that moment, was that this wasn't ordinary money. This was cartel cash. Funds being smuggled through the airport, hidden in plain sight, destined for laundering operations in Miami. And with one look around, he realized something chilling. Nobody else had seen it. Not security. Not customs. Not his supervisors. For the first time in his life, he held in his hands the kind of money that could rewrite his future forever. But in that same moment, he also sealed his fate. He could have walked away. He could have zipped the bag back up, called security, and forgotten what he had seen. But something inside him snapped. Years of financial struggle, quiet desperation, and being invisible to the world came rushing back. And so he made a decision. With no plan, no crew, and no getaway car, just instinct. He slid the bag onto his cleaning cart. He covered it with trash bags, mops, and buckets, disguising it as nothing more than janitorial supplies. Then he walked, right past cameras, right past employees, right past passengers. A man in plain sight, yet completely unseen. That was his genius. He didn't need to sneak or run. He just acted like he belonged, and nobody questioned him. From there, he moved toward a service exit. Cameras captured him briefly, pushing the cart. But then he was gone. By the time anyone noticed the money was missing, it was too late. $4 million had slipped out of one of the most secure airports in the country. Not in a dramatic heist with guns and masks, but in the hands of a janitor no one ever noticed. Cartels don't lose money, and when they do, they don't shrug it off. Within hours, the missing cash set off alarms in places far from Miami International Airport. Word spread quickly through cartel channels. $4 million had vanished. At first, the assumption was obvious. Law enforcement must have intercepted the shipment. But when no arrests were made, when no press release announced a drug bust, the truth began to sink in. This was no seizure. This was theft, and the cartel wanted blood. Investigators later learned that the organization sent enforcers to Miami almost immediately. Quietly, ruthlessly, they began asking questions. Who had access to that part of the airport? Which baggage handlers worked that shift? Which customs officers were on duty? Within days, people started disappearing. Airport workers questioned by men in dark SUVs. Some were never seen again. For the cartel, it wasn't just about recovering the money. It was about sending a message. No one, no government, no rival gang, no lowly janitor could ever steal from them and live. But here's what shocked investigators most. Despite the heat, despite the blood trail, the janitor's name never surfaced. He wasn't a suspect. Nobody had noticed him. He had walked away so cleanly, so invisibly, that for weeks, the cartel didn't even know who to blame. And that invisibility, his greatest advantage, was also his greatest curse. Because eventually, the cartel realized the truth. The only person unaccounted for that night was a man no one had ever paid attention to. After the heist, the janitor did something almost unbelievable. He vanished. No goodbyes to family. No sudden purchases that would raise suspicion. No trail of credit cards or bank deposits. One night, he was a man pushing a mop at Miami International Airport. The next, he was gone, along with $4 million. Law enforcement scrambled. They checked airport surveillance. They interrogated coworkers. They searched for records of flights leaving Miami. But the janitor's name appeared nowhere. It was as if he had melted into thin air. Some investigators believed he slipped across the border to Mexico or the Caribbean under a fake identity. With that kind of money, he could have bribed his way past checkpoints or paid someone to forge documents. Others believed he never left Miami at all, that he was hiding in plain sight, living quietly under a new name, waiting for the storm to pass. But then came the darker theory. Cartel enforcers were already combing Miami, hunting anyone connected to the theft. According to whispers from the underworld, the janitor didn't make it out alive. Some say he was tracked down within weeks, captured, tortured, and killed, his body disposed in a way that guaranteed it would never be found. No official report confirms this. No body was ever discovered. No one ever confessed. The janitor simply ceased to exist. And that's what makes this story so haunting, because either he pulled off the perfect escape, or he met a fate too terrifying to imagine. To this day, not a single dollar of the $4 million has ever been recovered. Nearly every major heist in history leaves behind answers, witnesses, evidence, someone talking. But not this one. And that's why the case of the janitor who stole $4 million in cartel cash remains one of the most baffling mysteries in true crime. Over the years, investigators, journalists, and armchair detectives have come up with theories. Each one is chilling, and each one feels just plausible enough to be true. According to this version, the janitor was smarter than anyone realized. He had no family ties to hold him back, no criminal record to raise suspicion. With millions in cash, he could buy a new life, plastic surgery, a new passport, a quiet villa somewhere in South America. Some even claim he was spotted years later, living in luxury under a different name. Others believe the cartel found him quickly and quietly, that they captured him, tortured him for information, and made sure his body was never recovered. To the cartel, it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the principle. Sending a message, and in their world, messages are written in blood. A darker possibility is that the janitor wasn't acting alone, that maybe he was working for someone inside the cartel itself, or with corrupt airport staff. In this theory, he didn't steal the money at all. He was a fall guy, used to move it out of the airport, only to be disposed of later. The truth? Nobody knows. Not the police, not the cartel, not even the people who worked alongside him every day. For $1 million vanished. A man disappeared. And all that's left are theories. An ordinary man, an extraordinary decision. In a single night, a janitor at Miami International Airport stepped out of the shadows of invisibility and into the heart of a true crime legend. For $1 million in cartel cash, gone without a trace. To this day, no official record confirms what happened to him. There are no arrest reports, no recovered money, no body, just a mystery that lingers, whispered about in law enforcement circles and cartel rumors alike. Was he a genius who pulled off the perfect escape, or just another name erased by the ruthless hand of the cartel? The truth may never be known. And maybe that's the point, because what makes this story unforgettable isn't just the theft. It's the silence that followed, the quiet void where answers should be, the nagging question that keeps you up at night. If you stumbled across $4 million in cartel money, what would you do? Walk away, call the police, or take the risk, knowing that one choice could make you rich beyond your wildest dreams, or cost you everything? The janitor made his choice, and the world is still waiting to find out the price he paid.